on this episode of Coding with Kate, I wanted to show you the responses that I had for the interview questions that I answered, which came up in the first section of the interview process for the Coder 1 position that I applied to just a couple days ago. But I wanted this resource here just in case some of you or other people, even outside of the medical coding field, are interested in what sorts of questions come up in an interview, how I handle those questions and respond to them. So it's just a great resource to have if it's needed. Also, keep in mind that the app that my employer used for this process didn't really support the higher resolution that my iPad has, so the image quality is terrible. It's very pixely. It doesn't look pretty, but pay attention to what I'm saying, not how it looks. And with that, comment below if you have any experiences with interviews that you'd like to share, or if you have any tips, anything like that. Let's get a conversation going, and please enjoy. I am currently an employee in the medical records department, and what originally interested me in working for is I was hearing some really great things from other employees about and how they treat everyone and their mission, and I was very happy to get that opportunity to work in the medical records department. And now that I've been in that position for just over 6 months, I have a stronger understanding and a wider skill set with working in Epic and with all of the various medical records and documents. And now that I am credentialed, I want to further my skills and learning for coding, but I want to stick with it because I have been very impressed with how I have been treated and the confidence and support that they give me, and it's amazing. So I want to continue working for just as a coder. After I achieved my bachelor's degree in art therapy, I tried going towards a master's in occupational therapy, but I realized that patient contact wasn't quite for me, but I still knew I wanted to be in the healthcare field. So I looked into medical coding and realized it aligned better with my interests and my skills. And I really enjoyed the puzzle or problem-solving aspect of it, and I'm a visual learner, and that also lends itself to coding, especially with ICD-10 PCS coding, which I truly enjoy. And that is really why I have enjoyed coding and learning about coding, and how I want to continue learning about coding. Currently, I have not had any hands-on experience in a professional setting for applying codes, but within the Coding Basics program through AHIMA, we have covered acute hospital coding, inpatient, outpatient, physician coding, and I have tried to branch out and use some of the information that I gain and see working in the medical records department and try to code it myself using ICD-10-CM, PCS, and even CPT. But since I don't have access to many op reports outside of what AHIMA has given me, working as a Coder 1 will give me those resources and also other coders and supervisors to guide me through learning more than what I've learned so far. When I worked for doing one-on-one ABA therapy with autistic children in their home, I incorporated what I had learned from my bachelor's in art therapy and used various skills with modifying tools and modifying projects and activities to help the children that I was working with so they could learn and feel more successful and proud of what they were doing. And I also came up with various art projects that would also be constructive to their learning and to their program, even though we weren't told or weren't required to do those sorts of things. I thought it was necessary to take what I have learned and put it towards and apply it to the children that I was working with, because I knew it would bring out a lot more of their skills and their personality, and it would be beneficial and supplement the ABA therapy that we were doing with them. In college, I volunteered my time to stage manage the theater productions, and one of the main issues that would always come up is every year we would have a mix of new students that have never done theater before and students that have been doing it for many years in a row. And it was always difficult to get everyone to work as a team and feel like a tribe or a group. And I wasn't told, this wasn't my responsibility to do this, but to help everyone feel comfortable, and especially the new students that might feel a little insecure or embarrassed about taking chances with their theater choices, at the very beginning of rehearsal or even a couple minutes beforehand, I would gather everyone up, especially I would ask the veteran students to help me lead warm-ups and doing different group activities, because they see these veteran students as, oh, they're really good at theater and I'm really not that good. But then you have a stage manager who has never done actual acting before come up on stage and actually take chances and even feel a little silly and still be successful. And it was something that I actually enjoyed doing. It gave me time to feel a part of the group, even though I would just be in the audience and everyone else would be together on stage. So it really made the entire process of the theater production feel like a family was doing it, and that we were all progressing together and supporting each other. And that was one of the greatest experiences that I had every single year I did the productions. When I was working as a activity aide, I came across all various types of physical and mental disabilities with the patients that I worked with, and I would also be doing primary care for them throughout the day. And it was something that I had to do and not make any of the patients feel ashamed if they had a toilet accident, or if they had difficulty eating, or if they were learning new skills and were struggling. I had to make them feel comfortable and be as neutral as possible when some of those issues would come up, but also let them know that it was okay and everyone makes those sorts of mistakes and they shouldn't feel ashamed, but also to bring out my personality of happiness and being outgoing and enthusiastic, which would also bring up their mood as well and not make them feel ashamed or like they were a failure or anything like that. I really had to take into consideration what their feelings were, because they are people, they are a person, and they have their own ideas of how they look, how they act, and we need to give them respect even though they may be different from us. And that was something I definitely learned throughout my professional career working with the mentally and physically disabled, and it definitely helps me apply that to different populations that I come across with working at the hospital, or different employees that I work with who are different from me, and being accepting of them and supportive of them, even if they do struggle, because I struggle too, and we can support each other and know that where we work is a safe place and we don't need to feel ashamed of any of our failures or anything we may be struggling with. Ever since going to college at all, I have learned that constructive criticism is the best thing that you can ask for when you are on the job, because everyone makes mistakes and we all learn from those mistakes, and it's best to have someone else critique you and let you know what you did wrong, how can you improve on it, but also to look introspectively and ask yourself, what was I not quite good at? How could I personally change it? And throughout every job that I've had since college, I have always been open to constructive criticism, and I always make mistakes because I'm learning new skills, so it's going to happen. And I openly tell my supervisors, I didn't do that well at this, I made a mistake, I tried to fix it, or I couldn't quite fix it. Could you help me figure out how I can do this process better and make sure I don't make this mistake again? This came up a lot when I was working in the stock room. In the stock room. I would have to figure out my own process for going through all of the shipment that came in and figuring out how to reorganize our stock room since we were limited on space. And if I couldn't figure out how to fix it, or if I made a mistake that costed time, I would go to my supervisor and ask them, this is what happened. This is how everything is set up. How do you think I could make this better? Here are my ideas, but I want your help to make this process smoother and quicker and more efficient. And even now in medical records, as I learn new skills, I find I'll slip up and make a couple mistakes, and I will work with my coworkers who are training me and with my supervisor to let them know, I think this was a mistake. I'm not quite sure how to fix it. Could you help me? Or if I was able to fix it on my own, I would let my supervisor know, this happened, I made this mistake, but I'm very proud of myself because I figured out the answer, and now I know to not make that mistake again, and I know how to fix it if something like that happens again. As I am learning about coding and practicing coding, I'm finding that I have a very analytical brain and I'm very detail-oriented. So when I come across procedures or diagnoses to code, I try to look at the physiology of that or watch surgery videos to understand what that surgery looks like, so I'm able to code them much better. And I really work to understand the rationale for some of the guidelines for diagnosis coding and also for procedure coding. And I think those are some of my strengths, that I want to have a very deep, concrete understanding of a lot of these concepts that come up within coding, and I want to take the time to learn it. And I also want to take the time to teach someone else about it because that helps me learn the process even better. And once I get on the job, I know I'm going to come across a lot of different procedures or diagnoses or documents that I have never seen before, but knowing that I am an analytical person, I know that I'm going to take the time to really figure out what information is pertinent. How can I apply what I've learned to this to figure out how to code this correctly and to the highest degree of specificity and detail? And also, since I'm not ashamed of asking for help, I know that I'm going to be more than open to asking my supervisor or my coworkers that I'm struggling with this, I'm not sure what to do. These are my ideas, but I need their help to make sure I'm doing it correctly and effectively. If I was asked to do this, I think I would definitely ask to have more hands-on experience with ICD-10 PCS coding because I truly enjoy learning about it. And along with that, I would want to talk with different medical professionals and ask them detailed questions about how does this surgery work? Why did you use these tools or use this technique? Because I think asking those questions or seeing the equipment and the tools that they're using, or even watching surgeries if I'm able to do that, that will help me code better and more effectively, and it will give me more concrete understanding of what these surgeries look like. So when I read the op reports, I'll understand what they're talking about, or I'll at least have an idea of what it looks like so I know which information is pertinent or what these certain phrases or tools mean and how is that going to affect the code that I will want to apply. So I think that is something that I'd really want to do, and definitely talking with those medical professionals and seeing the tools and equipment that they use and asking for their input on what does this op report mean or what does it look like, because that is going to help me code more effectively in the future, and it's going to make me feel more confident coming across wide varieties of op reports that I might not have access to right now. I think my supervisors and caregivers would definitely say that I am a very motivated, enthusiastic, and outgoing person, but especially my supervisor, she would definitely say that I want to understand on a deeper level a lot of the information that we come across because it's going to help me understand this information. And a quick example about that. when I was first learning about different documents, I was having trouble distinguishing between what we consider diagnostic cardiology, telemetry, and rhythm strips. I didn't know the difference, so it was hard for me to remember which one was which. And I actually asked a few of my coworkers and my supervisor, what equipment are they using? What is the difference between the two? And I was able to see the telemetry screens, which would help me understand why telemetry is different than diagnostic cardiology and why we scan them on separate platforms. And every time I come in and ask my supervisor a question about some document that I don't understand what it is, she thinks it's great that I'm making her think harder and have to search for these answers outside of the department. And I think it's just a great way to really learn about all the documents, why they're important, why we consider them specific document types, and why they are important to the health record.